Perfect. Thank you. And again, reminders, students, thank you so much for joining us for our entrepreneurship career panel. We are recording today's session. We are so happy you can join us and you can hear the wonderful advice our panelists have to share with you. Again, if you are here receiving extra credit for your class, please make sure you enter in your class number into the chat. And welcome for our entrepreneurship career panel. As a reminder, this event is taking part as Career Expo Week is happening. And so we are well into Career Expo Week, and just wanted to remind you of the other events that happened this week, as well as 2 events that are happening tomorrow. We have a career panel with SDG&E and a company tour. We're going to the old Olympic Training Center, now called the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center, tomorrow afternoon. And in Career and Transfer Connections, I just want to let you know of all the services that we offer our students, from internships, job search assistance, as well as on-campus, off-campus employment, and all of the events and job fairs that we have here on campus. And we also have our Handshake job board and career development platform. So if you're looking for an open position, interested in doing some research about your career, you can do that all within Handshake. And as a reminder, we are always here to help and assist you with your career planning and your job search. You can email us at swcctc, and that's for Career Transfer Connections, at swccd.edu. And these are all of our social media handles here as well. Now, before we get started today, throughout our presentation, we'll be utilizing Slido to ask you some poll questions and to collect questions for our panelists. Please, on your phone or in a separate window on your computer, please go to slido.com and enter the event code SWC panel. Again, that's slido.com and enter the event code SWC panel. To familiarize yourself with Slido, we're going to start with one poll question. What are you hoping to learn today? So within the Slido platform, go ahead and type in your answer here. What are you hoping to learn today from our panelists? And your answers will show up here. I'll give you a few minutes. I see some folks typing. Great. How to use my business degree. What else? How to network outside of your community, new opportunities or resources. Hoping to learn about entrepreneurship experience. Good. Setting up a business and marketing. Awesome. Opportunities for my career. Entrepreneurship skills. This is amazing. Different career options. Fantastic. All right. One more person typing, I'm not gonna leave you behind. Oh, I love that. How our binational region impacts our students' opportunities. Good. Remote work, self-employment. Beautiful. Thank you all. So throughout today's panel, we will be utilizing Slido, not just for our polls, but also in answering questions. So you'll see here on the slide, you'll see that you have the opportunity, there's a Q&A tab here, and you can ask the questions that you would like answered today. Within Slido, you can pose your own question or upvote or like other questions that you see that you'd like to be addressed by the panel. So again, feel free to enter in your questions or upvote the ones you really want asked, because we will make sure we get to those as best as we can at the end of our panel today. All right, and so with that, I want to start off by introducing you all to Lene Winka. She will be our facilitator of the panel today and our esteemed economics faculty here at Southwestern College. She'll be introducing you to our panelists and getting our panel started. So Lene, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. I just want to let you know about our three panelists. We have Danny Hanna, who is the owner and head baker of At Choice Confections, and she has been on Hulu, specifically the show Baker's Dozen, season 1, episode 6. So if after this panel is over, you want to check that out, you can go and see her on Hulu. Then we have Kevin Marshall, who is the president at CopyLink. And lastly, Lori Crawford Reese, who is president of Living Legacy Builders. So our very first entrepreneur that we are going to learn about today is going to be Danny Hanna from Choice Confections. So Danny, could you please provide us with a brief introduction about who you are, your business, and what you do?
Yes, so my name is Danielle. I go by Danny. I have been baking since about 2014, but that's when I launched my business, Choice Confections, which is primarily custom cookies and cupcakes. I ship my cookies now, but ordinarily people will just come by and pick up their treats. I sell them usually by the dozen, but I do bigger events. And I think that was all the question.
Yes, perfect. And so we see TV shows about bakers quite often and how they start their businesses and what it's like to be a baker behind the scenes. So what is the actual reality of that?
It is difficult to mainly, I think, stay focused. In a structured 9 to 5, you typically have someone telling you what to do, when to do it, and you kind of know when your task is complete. But when you're an entrepreneur, it's a lot harder, especially if you don't have anyone to model after. So I think that was one of the biggest things for me. I couldn't just Google how to be an entrepreneur baker. I mean, I did that, but it didn't provide me with very much that I needed. So I just started asking friends in the industry, getting little tips and tricks here and there, and just leading with my gut and not giving up. It's really easy to kind of get lost and you think all these other people are probably doing great. They're probably not, and they're probably just as scared and lost. So just going for it. It's not going to happen overnight like you see in some of these shows where you win and you go off and now you have this amazing brick and mortar. Like it didn't happen like that for me after the show. It's consistency, and it's just staying motivated to just keep trying.
Excellent. So knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you first started?
Yeah, I think just starting. It took me a while to actually get in the kitchen, make a real business out of this, come up with a business plan, getting my name out there, doing all of that stuff. I was just afraid. There was a lot of worry and just like, should I quit my job? When do I quit my job? And I didn't do any of that. I still work my 9 to 5, and I call this my 5 to 9. I'm not going to stress myself worrying about how am I going to pay for my bills. So I do both. Luckily, I'm blessed to work from home, so I can kind of maneuver it like right away, go in the kitchen, or even on my lunch break. Sometimes I wake up before work, I'm in the kitchen. I'm doing my social media, I'm putting a post on TikTok, I'm doing whatever I can when I can. And it's difficult, but it's working out really well. So I wish I had just told myself, you can do it. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't compare yourself to others, and don't always rely on your friends and family to give you the best advice or to give you that support. I've gotten more support from strangers on Instagram than I've gotten from, cousins or aunts and uncles, which is shocking to me, but that's the reality of it. They love you and all, but they might not buy anything from you. So I love my customers and I love what I do.
What is one last piece of advice you'd like to share with our students as they begin thinking about their careers?
Most of what I just said, just getting started. Don't bite off more than you can chew, because you will get discouraged. I mean, you may not, but I did. I'm like, I want this kind of cookie and this kind of cake and this flavor. And they're like, you can fill out this whole sheet. And I had to write out every single ingredient. And I'm like, well, I have to do this for 30 recipes. Maybe I don't want to start off that big. And I honed in on what I really was excited about. And for me, it's not about like making the cookie dough or shaping the cookies. It's about the decorating. It's the artistic part of it that comes at the end. So I needed that. And I knew I didn't want to be stacking cakes. And so I just started small. I do one type of sugar cookie, and now it's expanded into 5 types of cupcakes. But before, I just did 3. I did vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. And I sold, and I wasn't worried and stressed about all of these other things. So start out small. Don't just keep planning and planning. Oh, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. Make one type of cake, put it on your social media, talk about it to your friends and family, church, wherever there's big gatherings of people, and just go for it.
That is some excellent advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, you are next with your firm CopyLink. So I'm going to ask you the same first question as Danny, which is, please provide a brief introduction of who you are, your business, and what you do.
Hello, everybody. I am Kevin Marshall. I am a father of 3. Actually, my youngest son, who's 23, goes to Southwestern College still. And I started at Southwestern College, helped me with my business plan when I started my company 33 years ago. And our company manages large fleets of office technology, copiers for school districts, state agencies, nonprofits. And we've been doing it for 33 years. And it's such a fun business being able to help people serve the community.
And what motivated you to start this type of business?
Well, honestly, it was at a young age. My uncle had a painting store, and I used to go help him stock the shelves at the painting store, and I would watch him interact with everybody. I just loved his passion of making sure the store was organized and everything looked right. And as soon as somebody came in the door, he always wanted to say hi to him within the first 5 seconds and say, hey, we'll be right with you, and just his interaction. And my dad had his own painting business. Unfortunately, I didn't get to interact with my dad that much because he passed early, but I got to interact with my uncle a lot growing up. And so I always had it at a young seed, planted a young seed, never knew what business would be. I had all kinds of ideas growing up of what I wanted to do. And like Danielle said, it's just, you just got to pick something and go with it, right? Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry about it being best. You kind of learn on the job, right? Like, I didn't know how to do it, right? I just did it, and just every day adjusting, and you'll find that there's a ton of amazing people out there that want to help you be successful. And Danielle was right. A lot of those people are not your family members, because it's an interesting dynamic with family, because if you can do it, then they can do it, and it kind of makes them look bad. So it creates this whole kind of weird dynamic. And so.
Some great advice. How do you keep current with new ideas and or technologies?
By hanging around with amazing people like you guys. I've always been a big believer in being around people, right? So, when I was younger in business, I would be around chamber members and chamber mixers, other business owners. And as I grew in size, there's bigger networking groups that really are, like Vistage, that you belong, and you spend a whole half a day with each other on, honing in your skill sets. So I've always been a big believer in, seeking knowledge, because, I never wanted to be the smartest person in the room. I always wanted to, learn from everyone else.
Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you were first starting out?
It's one of those questions. I'm not a big believer in looking back and wanting to change things, because I'm a big believer if you change anything, you change everything, right? But make a lot of mistakes and make them quick and recover and move on, right? I mean, so often people are afraid of making mistakes. The one thing, if you follow the stock market, you see people's stocks go up and down, big companies, it's always about adjusting, right? And so, but don't be afraid to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. You don't want to keep making the same mistakes over. And then the other thing that I wish I could teach everybody in the world is if you always put more in than you take out in every situation that you're in, right, you will be shocked at how many opportunities come your way, not necessarily from where you're putting in, but from different angles. And I've seen it so many times where people have such an amazing skill set and everything, but they seem to want to pull more than they're putting in. And I'm like, man, if they could just tweak that a little bit, then everyone would be doing more for them, right? And it's sort of like you want to be a bee where you go around and pollinate people, not a mosquito where you're going and trying to get things from people.
What is one piece of advice you would like to share with our students as they begin thinking about their careers?
Seek advice from people successfully doing what you want to do. Everybody in the world has an opinion, but it's just that. It's just an opinion. Unless someone is successfully doing what you want to do, be careful who you're listening to, because the real world's not easy. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of sleepless nights. There's times where you go home and cry, and then you next day go back to work. And but you want to take advice from people successfully doing what you want to do, because truly everyone has an opinion. I can talk about building a rocket and tell you my opinion on it, but I have no experience on it. And then the other one is invest early, right? I mean, invest in yourself. Put a couple $100 away into the stock market every single month, even when you're starting your company and you have no money. Do it early, because you'll be surprised as time goes on how much that'll pay off.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And now on to our third panelist, Lori Crawford-Reese.
Hi, Lene. Thank you so much. So I am Lori Crawford-Reese, known on campus as Lori Nickel, because I also teach a business entrepreneur class at Southwestern College. Would love to see you all enrolled. It's starting in April. Short class, but a fun class. For my day job, what I do when I'm not helping students utilize their creativity is I am president and principal for Living Legacy Builders, which is a company that I own with my husband and actually my son, who's a disabled veteran who spent 3 tours of duty in the Middle East, and then got out of the Army and decided to go to work for us. And so he is part of our board and part of our executive committee. And we do restorations, renovations, and we also do short-term rentals. And my husband is also a master craftsman. So anything that you need built, he can build it regardless of the material. So we started Living Legacy Builders actually in San Diego, California, not long after we met, because we realized that our skill sets were compatible. And he needed somebody with the business background and the fortitude to handle all of the administrative side and also the creative side, because if I can dream it, he can build it. And so we recently have relocated our company to Oklahoma because we were looking for a little bit slower pace of life and an opportunity to make a difference in some communities here that have been typically underserved for the types of services that we provide. So Living Legacy Builders is our company name, and we have companies under that. So, and we're also a limited liability company.
Oh, nice. What kind of budget did you need to start off your business?
When we first started our business, Lance and I both, Lance is my husband and also the principal architect for our organization. We both brought a significant amount of power tools to our company. And so when you think about budget for a construction company, there are some basics that you have to have, depending on how you want to scale your organization. And I would say at a minimum, you would need to spend around, I don't know, $1,000, $1,500, depends on where you're buying them, and also the quality of the tools that you're buying. You could start in a business like this with spending a couple of $100 just buying paint supplies. It really just depends on the services you want to provide and the depth and breadth of construction experience or fortitude that you have.
we also see TV shows on your type of business, like Flip This House or Flip or Flop. And so what is the actual reality of what that looks like?
So the reality is that's reality TV that's not really reality. It's a lot of fun to watch those shows. And that is actually where I get some of my interior design ideas and some of our landscape architecture ideas, because they have teams and teams and teams of people that do this work, right? So the faces that you see on the TV are not the people who are actually doing the majority of the work. There's a whole lot of people behind the scenes making that production look beautiful and easy. I will say that I'm really glad that they've started showing some more of the reality of construction, and that is when unexpected things happen. Because in construction, that is the one thing you are guaranteed that will happen. Things are going to happen that were not part of your scope of work, that were not part of your project plan, and that are many times out of your control, because you may buy a home that's a rehabbed home. Maybe you bought it at auction and you had zero opportunity to review any past information about that house or to tour it. You're buying it sight unseen. And you could walk in and there could be foundation issues, which, depending on the type of foundation it is, might not be a big issue, or it could be monumental. So what you see on reality TV is great for the creative side, not so much for the reality side of what you're going to walk into. One of the shows that I think actually does an okay job is Fixer Upper with Chip and Joanna Gaines. They actually show you making the phone call to the client about the issue. Now, granted, that could be rehearsed, we don't know, but at least they show you those hiccups and the things that happen that they weren't expecting.
And what is one last piece of advice you'd like to share with our students as they begin thinking about their careers?
One of the most important things that I think you can do, no matter what you choose as a career path, is to get connected. I am a huge, huge fan of LinkedIn, and actually students who take my class, part of their final is setting up a LinkedIn profile and connecting with me, which then they can later erase if they don't want to be connected. But LinkedIn gives you an opportunity to build connections. And with social media, which is what LinkedIn is, it's a social media site, but it's for professionals. The world is no longer 5 degrees of separation. And so we have an opportunity to build relationships with people, to build our business, and to use those networks to continue to grow or to learn. If I have a question about something around construction that my husband can't answer, then I'll go to LinkedIn and I'll look for somebody else who's in the line of work, and I'll reach out to them and we'll chat on the phone, we'll Zoom. If they're local, I'll go meet them, or we'll just talk via the messaging function in LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn is one of my favorite ways to be connected. And I used it often when I was in the corporate world, and is actually how I found one of my positions that I took after I left global finance. One of the other ways that it's important to get connected, and I think Danny touched on this and Kevin probably did as well, is you've got to be connected in your community. You've got to be connected in the areas where the people are that you're going to serve. You are providing a service, and people who need that service need to know about you. At Living Legacy Builders, we do not advertise at all. We have zero money in our marketing budget because everything that comes to us comes through word of mouth. And so I think that our ability to build relationships within our community, especially moving our business halfway across the US, has been fundamental in our success. And we are already at a point where we have a wait list. We have a wait list for people needing our services. And so that has happened in 4 months worth of time because we immediately hit the ground running and got connected in our community. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. So start with what you're comfortable with. Maybe that's Chamber of Commerce. Maybe that's through your church. Maybe that's through a different civic organization. Go where you're comfortable and then begin to make connections where it's a little bit uncomfortable, where it's maybe something new that you haven't tried, or a larger group, or a group that you don't know anything about, but you're curious. And then use that mindfulness and that curiosity to help propel your business.
Great, thank you so much. I would like to go back to Danny and ask her about how has that Hulu experience impacted how you began your business?
I would say, well, I didn't think that it would, I thought it would be more impactful than it was. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go on the show, everybody's gonna see it, everything's gonna blow up, I'm gonna get the phone ringing off the hook, here we go, here we go, here we go, money, money, money. And it wasn't really that. I was able to use it more as a stepping stone. So I have my newspaper that I bring with me when I do vendor events, and I put it there so that people can see, like, oh, you were in the paper. And in the paper, it mentions the Hulu series. So what I did was I saw that that wasn't getting a lot of traction. I actually emailed some people from the local newspapers, different magazines, San Diego Eats, San Diego Reads, San Diego this, that, La Mesa. And so that's how I got into one of the papers. And then after that, I got into Edible San Diego. Then I got on these other websites. And so just saying, hey, I am a female entrepreneur. This is Black owned. This is LGBTQ plus, which I identify as owned, all of these things. People are eager to learn. People are eager to write about it, to talk about it. When it comes to multicultural, when it comes to diversity in particular, when it comes to elevating women in particular. So if you are any of those or all of those, go for it, because there are plenty of grants. There are people just ready to give you their help, their advice, their assistance financially, their mentorship, whatever. So I used Hulu to get my name out there more, to sort of use it as like a solidification, like, yes, I'm a real baker, I bake at home, but it's not what you think. Someone comes in and inspects my home, and I can sell business to business as well. So I think sometimes there's a distrust when it comes to, oh, you're cooking out of your house. Like, yes, but I'm doing it well, and there are regulations and rules around it. And so when I say, oh, I've been on this show, people have like, oh, they'll stop and really take notice, like, okay, that's what it takes. But I have a culinary degree. That you've been on TV. Oh my gosh. So that's the way that it really it helped me. But it wasn't, some magical solution to get my business going. That's been, all me.
How many hours do you have to spend on your social media to let people know about your business?
I would say probably posting at least once a day. Someone said 3 times a day. That's excruciating. But it takes a while. Or just reposting. I go on different folks' profile pages and I comment. And I don't know, some of you may be familiar with TikTok. There was the Black Girl Follow train. From that, I went from, I think I had like 2,000 followers. I went to now having 11,000 followers just from getting on that trend, interacting with people. I like people's stuff. They come on and like my stuff. I've gotten comments from like Beyond Burger because I made a little video of eating a burger from one of their spots. Like, and that's the thing. I work in advertising, so influencers are huge. If you can just put out a video of, oh, let me make my morning coffee, that can completely blow up, and you're tagging these companies and they want that. And so they may give you free, whatever products. Oh, shoot another video and promote this. And so I found out that all of these opportunities exist. I just maybe wasn't looking for them in the right places.
Oh, that's fabulous. I'm going to go to Kevin from CopyLink and ask him also, do you have to spend a lot of time on social media advertising your products?
I do some social media. I generally do video posts on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably the biggest thing that I use, just because that's the one that I know, and it's B2B, business to business. And I'll post some blogs and things like that, but I don't do as much driving on the social media as I could. I know a lot of people really do that successfully. And I do it much more like Lori says. If you do a really, really good job taking care of your customers, you get lots of referrals, and I got 2 referrals today. And so I think I really you know, we always talk about taking care of our customers, but I'm a big believer you cannot have happy customers without happy employees. So you need to make sure you're doing as much effort on wowing your employees as you're doing to wow your customers, because, you know, nothing worse than, you know, putting all your effort into the customers, and your employees that are going out there to take care of them are like, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." You know what I mean? So you gotta wow your staff too, because nobody is successful on their own. Like nobody. Like it takes a team, it takes a village, it takes a community, it takes people to lean on. And you know, and that's the one thing I would say too, is especially when you're starting your journey, right? Like invite people in, like invite your clients in, like my technicians used to laugh when I got to the point where I hired other technicians to go out. They'd say to me, how many first customers do you have? Like, how can you have that many first customers, right? But if you make all your customers feel like your first customers, it could be the first 1,000 customers, right? But if you make them feel like they're part of you, then they're more apt to want to promote you. So if they're part of your success, you know, they're going to want you to be successful. So invite people in. Don't try to do it on your own. Like give the credit to your staff, give the credit to your customers, give the credit to your community, and let them be part of your success, because it's much more funner when you have everybody involved in the success. People love that.
When you first started, how many people were with you? Was it just you alone, or did you have a crew?
It was just me. I started with, it was funny, you were talking earlier about funding and how you got started. And I remembered going to my rich aunt, whose uncle I used to watch, and asked her for $25,000 to start the business. And I was the youngest of 6, and I got the raft of the family. I got the raft of everyone else that asked for money that never paid it back, and which ended up being a real blessing, because I never got any money from them. So I ended up getting a $5,000 credit card, and that's how I started my business. And of course, years later, my aunt goes, the one person I should have invested in, the one person I should have gave the money to, you know. But actually, she did me a blessing, because, you know, I had to do it on a $5,000 credit card, and it was just me knocking on doors, and never in my wildest dreams would have I ever thought we would have grown it to what me and my wife have grown it to. My wife started working with me about 7 years into it, I think. And she's like, are you sure this can be enough work for me? And then afterwards, she was like, man, I like my old cush job I had.
Thank you so much. I'd like to go to Lori and the Living Legacy Builders.
Sure.
So you,
And Lynn,
oh,
go ahead.
you said that you don't have to do any advertising, but how did you get that very first customer?
Just through building relationships in our community. When we were planning our move, I posted a note on Facebook and said, okay, people, I'm moving to Enid, Oklahoma, which is significantly different than San Diego, California. We're talking about 50,000 people, and we don't even have a mall that is like functional. Our mall is dead, empty. There's one buffet in the mall. Everything is back downtown. We're talking like Central Square, kind of small. We have multiple streetlights though, so there's that. So I posted on Facebook and said, hey, I'm moving back. Here's what we're doing. And back being to my hometown. Here's what we're doing. And here's what I need from you all. I need to know, who do you recommend as a veterinarian? Who's your favorite doctor? Where do you bank? You know, what's your top 10 favorite restaurants? And made it about everything except our business. And people came out in droves to tell me about all of their favorite things. And then in all of the comments, people were like, well, what are you doing? What's Living Legacy Builders? Why are you coming back? Why are you leaving San Diego? And that is how we probably got our first handful of customers, was through a Facebook post. So I guess when I said we don't have to advertise, I did with that post that wasn't about our business, that became about our business. And you know, I have to tell you, that was not part of my diabolical plan to get business. I really just needed to know where do I need to go for banking? Who's the best dentist? Who's the best doctor? Who's the best vet? Who's the best financial planner? And then people just came out in droves. So it was really The response was incredible. I shut off comments on that pretty quickly because I couldn't keep up.
Wow, that is excellent. And what were when you were starting out with it and moving your business there, what was one things that you were most concerned about?
I think the biggest thing was how long it was going to take us to really launch our business. Like, I was planning to do a whole lot more legwork than what we ended up having to do, because I knew that there were people in business who in business doing the similar kind of business who did beautiful work, and I didn't want to come in as a competitor, and I didn't want to upset the apple cart from a community standpoint, because community is really important to Lance and I. And so I was really concerned about our ramp time. And hindsight is 2020. I shouldn't have been, but there were many sleepless nights about that and about how long it was going to take us to take off. And also the other kind of big issue at that time was construction materials had gone through the roof. They had doubled and tripled. I went from being able to buy a 2x4 of Douglas fir, which is, readily available and cheap, for $1.97 at Home Depot, and they went up to over $10 for Douglas fir for the same cut of wood, and actually lower quality, I think. And so we had to pivot when that happened, and instead of flipping houses to sell, we flipped houses to turn them into short-term rentals. I'm sure some of you all have heard of Airbnb or VRBO or Vacasa. And so we did less selling and more investing in the short-term rental market.
Nice. And I know, like, for example, for the Airbnb, his hook was that he was taking away the stranger danger. How do you do that for your business?
By building relationships. We actually have not launched our short-term rentals yet. They're not posted on Airbnb or VRBO for people to book, but we have people who are waiting to come into our homes because there is a need for both short-term and medium-term rentals, because we are a military community and our base is on the small side. There's not enough housing available. And so some of the airmen and airwomen, because we're an Air Force community, are needing short term when they're coming through a short school, or they're needing medium term. And a lot of the real estate investors in our town who do rentals don't want to do medium term. They want the year-long lease, so they don't have to worry about it. They don't want to have to worry about coming in and painting or replacing carpet or whatever the case may be. And so we found a niche there that we can fill as well.
Great. That's a nice niche to find, right?
Indeed. Indeed.
All right, I would like to go back to Danny again. And so for you, I'd like to ask, how do you keep current with new ideas and the different technology in the culinary arts?
That would be primarily through social media. I never thought I would enjoy TikTok, and I thought, I'm a little bit old, going on 40, too old for TikTok, but I actually love it. It's short, snackable information that you can digest quickly and easily. You can talk to people live, you can DM folks, and like I said, that want to give information is out there. So I absorb information through there, through YouTube videos, Instagram a lot. I follow a lot of bakers, I follow a lot of cooks, even people who just design different things so that I can get information and different inspiration for color palettes and different cookie ideas and things. But yeah, primarily it would be just social media, following the right people. And I follow a lot of entrepreneurs as well, a lot of motivational sites. So my feed isn't full of celebrity gossip and nonsense. It's like, what motivates me, what women encourage me, what designs are inspiring, and different quotes and things from the Bible, stuff that really gets me excited and happy, versus just inhaling all of this. Social media can be just a trip. So I try to follow the right folks, and I see what's trending, what's not, what hashtags are working, what sounds are working. And that helps me also to promote my business.
Great. And then is there one particular thing that you like to bake that is your favorite thing?
I would say my chocolate, actually now it's my chocolate cake in a jars or my biscotti cake in a jar. So there's the biscotti cookies that everybody, if you've flown Delta, you know what they are. And so now instead of just doing cupcakes or a dozen cupcakes, I'll do the cake jars, which is cake and this delicious biscotti cookie spread, buttercream, and then the crushed up cookies in there and whatever else you want to just mound on top of. And it's portable, it's cute, it's trendy, and it's shippable. So I think that's my favorite thing right now. Before it was cupcakes, but I'm like, oh, I can do all of that and not have to decorate. All right, sign me up. Let's make it easy peasy, you know? So I found another way to even use leftover cake. So, and then it allows me to be super creative because I can put syrup and caramel and chocolate chips and anything that I want. So I'm just a big kid. As you can see, I have sprinkled all over my kitchen. I love pink. I'm a kid. And so, yeah, those cake jars are my favorite.
They sound pretty delicious, I have to say.
They are.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to head on over to Daniel and have him talk about our Small Business Development Center. But before we do that, what is one career tip that you would like to share on site, or are we going to do that one? One career tip you will use in your own career journey, everybody out there?
Thanks, Lene. I know our panelists have shared quite a bit of helpful advice. I know I wrote down quite a bit of nuggets from our panelists. I love that Danny said, don't compare yourself to others. I love the analogy of the bee and the mosquito from Kevin. Lori shared quite a bit about getting connected and utilizing your networks. I love it all. So I would want to hear from our students. Yeah, what did you gather from our panelists today that will help you in your career journey? Connecting with strangers, get ready to make mistakes and connect. Yeah, Kevin said to give more than what you get. I love it. Absolutely. See a few more folks typing. Network is really important for growth. Good. Take advice from others and not so much family or friends or family members. Yep. I love it. It looks like you all have gathered a lot from our panelists. I'm going to move on to our next slide, and now we will turn it over to Danny Fitzgerald over at the Small Business Development Center.
Fantastic. Thanks, Genesis, and thanks, Professor Winke. We appreciate being able to come on here. So my name's Danny Fitzgerald. I'm the Regional Director of the San Diego and Imperial Small Business Development Center. I also oversee our other business assistance programs that are at our Center for Business Advancement at our Higher Education Center here in National City, which includes our Women's Business Center and our Procurement Assistance Center. And so what we do, a lot of people ask me, what is it you do? How do you handle different things and so forth? I always like to say we put the community in community college, and we really are an outreach arm to the community. We serve well over 7,000 businesses in the San Diego and Imperial County region. So we're region wide. We're not just the Southwestern College South Bay footprint, but we serve people out in El Centro, up in Escondido, in Oceanside, in Kearney Mesa, and of course in San Isidro and out in Otay. And we serve people, helping people like you that are starting businesses, our fantastic panelists that were on here who are in business as they're growing their business. And Danny, I'm 10 years older than you, and I go on TikTok too for cooking things. So, and I'm just a hobbyist. And so my teenagers make fun of me though. And so, so it's something that's great to be able to, to be able to see and do. So that's really what we have is a passion for helping entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, for people that have maybe a small, a micro business or a hobby business and turn that into a business they can scale. We help businesses that as they're in growth phases going, hey, now I need to buy a building. Now I need to buy this equipment. Construction companies is going, hey, I want to start servicing, school districts and the federal government and all of that type of work. And that's what we do. And we help people to be able to do that. And so what I want to do is just kind of basically explain, how do you take advantage of these services? Because the best part of this is they're free to you. We pay all of our staff, but that's done through federal and state grants that we receive. That's my job. I don't get to do any of the fun stuff. That's why I was happy to come and talk about things here. But all my advisors, there's 120 experts here across the San Diego and Imperial region that are excited and ready to be able to help people achieve their dreams and really be able to grow. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and go just because what it is it's all about our website. It's super simple to be able to get our services and request some particular help. Because there's really two things we do. One is we meet one-on-one with people. So basically a coach, mentor, business advisor, counselor, consultant, all the synonymous in terms of what we do. But really be able to be a guide and kind of help folks navigate anything that they're doing. And so what you would first do is you'd literally go right here and you'd click the button, get an advisor. And that's really going to be your first step. What it is basically filling out a simple form. And so let's see here. I always hate this because it has it. There we put it there. There we go. And it's a simple form to be able to kind of show some contact information. And within one business day, you get a phone call from one of our awesome administrative people, and you're scheduled an appointment within about a week up for your initial appointment to kind of be able to work with somebody. The other thing you can do is if you want to do stuff on your own time, we have a menu of on-demand training. So if you have insomnia and you want to learn about accounting at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can do that. So you can go and learn about accounting practices and understanding business bookkeeping and all of those types of things. Even more exciting, you can learn about governmental contracting and governmental regulations. Great things for 2 o'clock in the morning. But in all seriousness, these are great things to be able to do on your time. Because as you're starting your business and as you're doing different things, you're a student, you have a job. Because our number one advice when you're starting your business is don't quit your day job. Absolutely. Don't quit your day job. Have that steady income, figure out ways it is. And then they say, well, when can I quit my day job? And the answer is, you'll know, but it's a lot further away than you think. And so those are the things that you need to remember and realize. And so we have all of these different types of on-demand trainings, kind of navigating. I haven't started my business. These are actually probably our most popular, just because it's a great way for people at different times at their own pace, be able to kind of understand what they need to do for starting a business. But we also have hundreds of live, mostly almost all of them are webinars for all sorts of topics, everything from domain names, legal issues related to that, to procurement, to cybersecurity, to just being able to have office hours about marketing, developing your social media strategies, business planning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is just that is coming up in the next 3 or 4 days. And so all of these different webinars are free, and you can certainly sign up for them, be able to take advantage of them and get the information. As you can see, most are 1 to 2 hours, so they're not major time commitments, and a great way for you really to kind of be able to access some particular information. And so that's really what it is we're here to be able to help hundreds of businesses, thousands of businesses be able to achieve their dreams. So many different things that you're able to be able to do and take advantage of. And so that's what we're all about here at the Small Business Development Center. So that's what the main thing I want us to take away is our website, sdivsbdc.org. You go on there, figure out what it is you're specifically, the type of help you're needing. You're able to get an advisor, be able to get that one-on-one particular help. You're able to just, even if you're like, hey, maybe I'm not ready, I just want to sample a few things. The on-demand trainings are fantastic. And then, of course, our live workshops are also fantastic based upon what it is you're looking at and trying to be able to do. And so that's what you're able to do. So yes. So to confirm, I want our students to click on the Get an Advisor link. That's a great question. Professor Lucas, to be able to go on there, click on the Get an Advisor. And then you can put in there that you're a student at Southwestern College. And certainly, but you'd be treated just as the same as any of the others, and make sure that you're getting that particular type of help. Why we did this, just to kind of make things simple, before COVID, we had different ways in which people would be able to access our services. But when COVID hit, we went from kind of being able to have requests for services. There were about 25 to 40 a week, and we went to about 600 to 800 a day. And so we had to significantly change what we do. So we had to do what our businesses have to do when things come up and different issues come up. We had to adapt. And so we had to adjust the ways in which we receive services and receive those requests for services, because while it's gone down from that peak volume 3 years ago, we still receive about 200 requests a week, and we want to make sure we're handling those in an effective and efficient manner. And so that's why we have a much more simplified process for folks to be able to do that. That's the best thing. You click the Get an Advisor. What's nice is even in that first meeting, if really it makes sense for you to kind of take some trainings before you meet with a consultant, they'll be able to recommend which ones you really should be able to take. So that's really what SBDC is all about. So so hopefully if there's any questions, happy to answer any other questions that any of you all have.
Thank you so much for being here, Danny, and sharing all the wonderful resources that you all have at the Small Business Development Center. You are a huge resource to us here at the college, and we want all of our students and all of our community members to definitely take advantage of everything that you all offer. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite, Genesis.
No worries. So I'm going to jump into questions for our panelists. Again, please go to slido.com and enter in the event code SWC panel. You can see we have several questions here on the, but we have some of our most popular up here, and I can scroll down and we can go through each of them. So I'm going to pose some of them out loud and allow you all to jump in here. Okay. So what are the most important skills you need to be a successful entrepreneur? Anyone want to jump in?
I'll take that one.
Go for it, Kevin.
I believe it's integrity. I think that you have to have passion and integrity. And if you do that, everyone else will be there to successfully help you journey and go through your starting of your business and getting your first client and your second client. But if you don't have an integrity, people sniff that out pretty quickly. And then you might get one client, but you won't get the repeat clients. So I think it goes back into putting more in than you take out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Any other panelists want to jump in?
I'll piggyback what Kevin said, and just add my definition of integrity, which is what you do when no one's looking. And I think it's really important. What Kevin said is you've got to do the right thing all the time, because relationships are built on trust. And if you are a business provider and people don't trust you, you won't have a business at the end of the day. And then just to add another caveat on that, I think you have to know your limits, be willing to learn, but know your limits, because while you are still working that 9-to-5 job or the other job that is supporting you while you're launching your other business, you've got to also take time for rest and recovery, because if you continue to burn the candle at both ends, you will eventually burn out. And that is a really dangerous place to be as an entrepreneur. And it happens to all of us, and we have to take time to regenerate and do some self-care. But just know that you're one person, or you're a small company, even if it's just a couple of you doing a partnership, or you've got a very small organization, you'll try to take on a lot more than what you can handle, and it will end up not being good for your health, not being good for your relationships, and not being good for your business.
Danny, do you want to add anything else? Both Dannys.
I was just going to say, I absolutely agree when it comes to burning the candle at both ends. You know, like I said, I work sometimes during my lunch break or before work or after work, just because, you know, that's sort of the schedule that I set for myself. If I was really smart about it, I'd make the cookie dough in advance, you know, I'd make this on certain days. And so I think a big part of it is being organized. I'm kind of all over the place, but when I write it down, have a checklist, have my ingredients in the same place at the same time always, like the stress, and then I can just enjoy the artistic fun part about baking and not make it a chore. It's supposed to be something that I enjoy and a passion for me. So making sure that you are as organized as possible. If you need help, like someone said, reach out for help. I think those kind of your community, definitely get folks. I have people saying, can I volunteer? Can I be an intern? Can I help you out? It's like, well, if I didn't bake at 2 a.m, maybe, but the folks are there to help you. They want to help, definitely.
Danny Fitzgerald, anything you want to add here?
No, I like what everyone was saying. I think the other one I would add is just willingness to be flexible. You're going to have to continue to kind of meld and mold, and what you start out thinking your business is going to be willing to and understand that it's probably going to have to change 15 different times and adapt to different situations. And so really being able to be flexible and adaptable for different situations.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, I love this one. Why did you decide to start your own business instead of working for someone else? Anybody?
I'll take the lead on that one. So I was in corporate America for many, many, many years, from a small US-based organization as a startup, and then I went into financial services for a super regional bank, and then went into global financial services. And there are a lot of reasons why. Probably one of the most important things is I was working a lot of hours, way more than the 40 that I was supposedly being compensated for. Sometimes it was an 80-hour work week. And I was not good at setting boundaries for when it was time to shut down the laptop and leave my home office and make family time. And there were times in my life when I put work before family. And so I learned that lesson the hard way, that something's going to suffer when you do that, and it will be relationships with your family. And thankfully my family was strong enough or brave enough, you get to decide, to say, hey, Mom, we need you. We appreciate how hard you're working, and we appreciate the example that you're setting, but we miss you. We need time with you. We want quality time with you, not distracted time with you. And so that was one of the big reasons that I decided to start a small business. And I've had many of them over the years, was that I wanted the flexibility with my schedule. I wanted more time with my family. And I wanted to be able to provide a source of employment for others, where that was the culture of our company, was that family comes first. Because at the end of your days, it won't be that company beside you holding your hand. It will be your family, provided that you still have one. And that was something that a boss said to me a long time ago that was really pivotal in helping me decide that, yep, one day I am going to be a business owner, and I am going to set the culture of our company to that, which is family first.
Kevin, I see you're unmuted, so I assume you want to answer this one too.
Well, the one thing I'd say is the great thing about having your own business is you only have to work a half a day, and it's kind of cool. You get to pick which half a day you want to work, 6 to 6, 7 to 7, 8 to 8, 9 to 9. And you really do put a lot of hours in there. It is a tough decision to, go from something secure to starting your own thing. But I will tell you, most of the people I know didn't just quit a job. They all started their side job either early in the morning, at nights, or weekends, and they got it started to the point where they knew they could keep going with it. So I started my business 4 hours every day. And then after about 6 months, I realized that I was going to be able to do it. And then I went to it full time. And I think most people do it that way. But the learning the boundaries as far as time and all that stuff goes. I'll tell you, having your own business does allow you to do a lot of things with your family that you wouldn't have been able to before, but it also sucks a lot of your time away from the family. So it's kind of a double-edged sword with that. So, I think I decided at a young age I was going to do it. My uncle planted the seed. And so it was just one of those things that grew, and it was just a matter of when the timing was right. And for me, when the timing was right was when I wanted to become a service manager. And the director of service said, no, you can't be a service manager because you can't read and write that good, which was true. And And I got kind of mad, and that's when I'm like, okay, it's time to start my own business. And the funny thing is, my company ended up being a lot bigger than they were later on. And we talk about skill sets, right? Just because you don't have a particular skill set like reading and writing doesn't mean you can't start a business. You can start a business. You just hire people with that skill set. I remembered I had a lady that just retired from our company after 20 years, not that long ago. She was working for about 10 years, and she's like, Kevin, how'd you do that? And I go, do what? And she's like, how'd you start this company? I go, oh, my uncle, I told her the story. She goes, no. She goes, the fact that you can't read and write, right? And I go, oh no, I hire people like you that can read and write. And you just and it teaches you to lean on people, right? You gotta trust people. You gotta be able to lean on them. You mean?
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Kevin. Danny, this one's for you. Where can we order your desserts?
I actually have a website that I designed myself through Wix, choiceconfections.com. There's a hyphen in there, so it's choice-confections.com. And then I'll do sometimes local vendor events. So this weekend, actually, I'm doing the Soul Swap Meet, Soul SOUL Swap Meet. So yeah, you can come and meet me and talk to me, keep me occupied while I'm there for a few hours. So it'd be great to interact with some folks. So you can come out.
Awesome. Where's that Soul Swap meet?
It's going to be in North Park. They advertise a lot on Facebook, so you'll be able to see the exact location. It's in this cute little park. So yeah, if the weather is all good this weekend, then we'll be
Fingers
out there.
crossed. Yeah. Thank you. All three of you are extremely positive and encouraging. What is one thing a student can do today to prepare for starting their own business?
Get a blank piece of paper out and just start putting ideas down. And the thing I always liked doing that I started doing once a phone had video is I actually like to do video ideas on yourself because it's really cool to be able to look back and see those videos way down the road. So you don't have to be an expert. You just need to allow yourself to think and trust the thoughts that are coming your way, and one step at a time.
And I'll pipe in on that as well. I think it's really important to know what your natural talents are and to do something that is going to play to those natural talents where you can use the things that you are really good at that come really easy to you, and you get to do that at least 70% of the time. Because then I think you will find joy in what you do and not be overwhelmed with the things that are harder for you to do that you may not be able to outsource yet. Because I think that might be the downfall of a lot of entrepreneurs is they're so caught up in doing the things that they don't enjoy because it takes a lot of work and a lot of energy that they get disenfranchised with owning a business at all. And so find something that you enjoy doing, that you're really good at it, and it's easy for you, and make sure that you get to do that the majority of the time.
And Lori, I always tell people that because, when you're young and you're in high school and you're in college and you're starting off, so often you end up doing what your parents did, right? And I always try to encourage the students, even if it's a volunteer basis where you're not being paid, try many different jobs so that you allow a fire inside of you to start. And you'll know when that fire starts, you'll know which direction to go. Lori's absolutely right. You don't want to be in a job just because that business could make money. Because if you're not at least 70% of the time doing what you love, you're going to be miserable. But at your age, you may not know what you love yet. So volunteer at different communities, different events, get different jobs, and then something will light up inside you, and you'll be like, "Oh my God, I love cooking, or I love serving, or I love fixing things, or I love construction." But you won't know that until you do different jobs.
I love it. Try it on. Danny.
That's right. I like that.
Yeah, I definitely love what Lori said. There's a Steve Jobs quote about that. It's really impactful. I definitely would say don't give up. You know, I'm, like I said, about to be 40. I haven't been doing this that long, and I want my business to morph into other things. You know, I'm in culinary arts. I'm not a baker, but I bake because it was convenient, because it was easy to package and easy to promote and easy to sell. And at the time, they weren't really doing, you know, people cooking at home licenses. So do what you're excited about, do what is going to sell, and know that you're fully in control of it. You don't have to model after anyone else. If I want to go now and sell tamales, I can. If I want to go out and sell brioche to Vons, I can. Like, I can switch up anything at any time. If I'm not happy with the way that my business is going and I'm tired of cookies or whatever, I can say no more cookies. And that's up to me. And my customers are just going to have to shift. And that is always going to happen. There is no oversaturation. You may think that, oh, there's so much competition out there. There isn't. And there's levels to this. So people are out there producing what I would never sell personally, but for their customers, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So don't ever doubt yourself. Like I said, don't compare yourself to anyone else. And don't give up, no matter, you know, the bumps. If it was easy, everybody would be an entrepreneur. We all be out in Cabo sipping margaritas, but you know, you got to just put in the work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Kevin, how exactly do you market your services through LinkedIn? How do others receive your LinkedIn promotions? How does that all work?
I don't necessarily do a lot of promotions. I'll just talk about entrepreneur stuff. I'll talk about, you know, my employees. I'll talk about, you know, a networking group that I was in. And so it's not necessarily doing a promotion. It's just much more, you know, leadership, you know, positive energy. And, you know, when you connect with people, you know, Lori talked about building a LinkedIn profile. You really want to do a really good job building a LinkedIn profile before you start connecting with everybody. And you kind of, you know, choose who you want to connect with. You know, don't just go looking to try to get a huge network, but try to have it be tight in the area that you want to do business in. But have fun, right? Like, don't take yourself too serious. I'll tell you, I don't care if you're the president of the United States or you're a young entrepreneur, right? You're worried about your speaking, you're worried about, you know, doing it perfect and doing it right. We all have that voice inside you. I don't care who you are. And just have fun in it. Like just be you, because there's only one of you out there. The world would be so boring if everybody was like me, right? And you need to just be you to the fullest. And that's the thing, if somebody asked about, is you're going to have people that don't want to do business with you, and that's okay, right? You want people that want to do business with you because of you, not because who you're faking to be, not who you're acting like to be. You want to be people to do business with just like you. That does not mean you don't fake it till you make it, because I faked it till I made it, like for many years. You know, so that there is that thing of faking it to make it, because you don't have the skill set yet, right? You're learning the skill set, you're doing it, you're falling down. Like I said, make mistakes quickly, right? But be kind to yourself.
I love it. How do you gather data on or to open a certain type of business in a certain community? I know, Lori, you talked a lot about being really well attuned to your community, as well as Kevin, you shared some of that too in your panel answers. So if you can share a little bit more about how do you get more insight about a community when you're opening up business?
From Danny Fitzgerald.
That's true. Any other thoughts?
I would agree with that. When we relocated our business to the Midwest, one of the first things that I did was to look for an Apex Accelerator program. It's very similar to what Danny does there in San Diego and Imperial County. We have available in Enid, Oklahoma, through our vocational technical program, which is also part of the economic development organization within our county and within our state. And so they have been such an incredible resource in telling us how many other construction companies are there, how big are they, what is the median income, what's the median education level. Like, the amount of information that we have available to us to help us launch our business has just been incredible. On top of, and this is something that Danny will definitely have more information about, through the program that we are a part of in Oklahoma, we actually get 10 years of state tax credits when we graduate from the Apex Accelerator program. And we had a lucrative, well-funded, well-run business in California, and we moved it here. And it's a little bit like starting over, but we're starting over with knowledge and with experience. And so I'd highly recommend to look into those kinds of programs. And if you're going to do that in San Diego or Imperial County, there's your bag.
Awesome. Danny Fitzgerald, do you have anything to add there?
So, I mean, we don't have that, California doesn't have that level of a program. I mean, we serve a lot more people in California than what Oklahoma does, but there are different advantages and different grants that come about. Our Procurement Assistance Center is here at the Center for Business Advancement, is an Apex Accelerator. I didn't use the name. Well, these governmental terms have too many names, and absolutely we're able to provide that. But in terms of in terms of being able to have that information, we that's what you do is you come to us. We have a lot of different research tools that we're able to have that are at no charge to you, and really be able to kind of gather that information. So that's what we're here for.
Perfect. Lori Crawford Reese, is the class you're mentioning that you're teaching this spring LDR 152?
That's the class.
That's the class, everybody.
Would love to see you there.
Danny Hanna, is your kitchen licensed to the county? Do they require a floor drain, 3-part sink or sanitizer, and all that jazz?
Yes, it is licensed. Someone had to come out and inspect it because I have a Class B license where I can sell, like I said, from business to business. If you want a Class A, they don't have to come and inspect anything. No, they don't. And it's much cheaper. So your choice. No, I didn't need any of that. This is just my normal home, which is great for tax purposes because I can write off some things for my business that cross over into home. Definitely talk to your tax advisor about stuff like that. But yeah, they come in and they make sure there's no rodents or insects or anything like that. You just got to make sure that there's no pets in the kitchen while you're cooking and stuff. So, I'll go through and vacuum and clean and wipe down because I have a cat. He's not allowed in the kitchen, but when I'm not here, who knows? So just no children or animals in the kitchen while you're cooking. And then the rest is just making sure that it's clean, that your hot water is hot, that your refrigerator is right, that your oven gets up to temp. But it's not as complicated as you might think. And you can go on the Cottage Food Law website and find out a lot of information. I took a course when I was first starting out, so I was able to ask someone questions, but there's a ton of resources. So yeah, it's a lot easier.
Danny, follow-up question in the chat. Class B cottage license, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the Cottage Food Law that allows you to do this. Like you would think it's spelled cottage. And I have a Class B license so that I can sell in, any mom and pop shop or, like I said, Vons, if they would have me, Trader Joe's, maybe something like that fun. And you can also sell to individuals. There's a lot of restrictions, but it's becoming more open now. Like before, you couldn't make more than 50K a year. Now I think it's like 120, not that I'm making that, but if I could, it would be fine by tax law purposes. And now they're allowing you to ship within California. So everything is starting off really restricted, but it's like really, it's expanding quickly because entrepreneurship is such a big thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. How important was it having a support system during the beginning of your business? Anybody want to jump in? How
I'll jump
important was your?
I think it's hugely important. You need to surround yourself with like-minded people because you're going to have tough days We were talking about taxes earlier. I mean, that's one thing you got to make sure you set money aside, because I remember when I had a really good year and I had a big tax bill and I didn't have the money to pay for it, and I had to go talk to my mom and say, "Hey, Mom, can I borrow some money?" She's like, "What?" So it's important to surround yourself with people that keep you motivated. But so here's a little bit of advice that I think is hugely important. This is going to be very hard to find because you might try to push these people away. It's really important to have people that are actually willing to call you out, that are willing to sharpen you, willing to tell you did something wrong, willing to offend you. And, a lot of people want to push those people away, but those are truly the people that are going to sharpen you the best and make your skill set better. And I remember when I was on a board once and I was presenting at the board, and afterwards, a very high profile person pulled me aside and lectured me on making sure I know the slides before I ever present. And he, did more for me than somebody that would have said, "Oh, great job out there," right? You really want to promote people sharpening your skill set. So don't be so quick to push people away that are criticizing you, because sometimes they're a nice mirror to you.
I agree with Kevin. And I think when you start to look at that constructive feedback as a gift and not a condemnation of you, it will change your mindset about what you do with that information that person was brave enough or courageous enough to share with you. Critically important to the success of your business, because we're all human and nobody expects us to be superhuman. And when we do make mistakes and we own them, we get the feedback, then I think we build customers and relationships for life. And you all know, having been a part of this, that I'm huge on relationships, because that's the lifeblood of your business, is the relationships that you build and the community that you build through your connections and through your relationship.
Next question's for Danny. Ever thought of starting a YouTube channel?
I put that on my goals list a couple weeks ago, and I actually have. I don't have any subscribers yet, no content yet, but I did step one and I created the channel name. I've been focused on my TikTok channel actually, and going live on there sometimes and doing different battles and building my following there. But that is a great way to monetize your content. And they take a lot less money than TikTok does. So that is a good goal, and it's on my to-do list.
Awesome. Lori, question about materials and construction costs. Any thoughts on where that's going?
Luckily, and this is a huge celebration. Trust me, I was doing a happy dance. Construction costs are going down. And here's the bad news. I don't think that we'll ever get back to the pre-pandemic cost, and rightfully so, because people who are in that business to provide those materials, they deserve to make a fair wage as well, and to be able to earn a living off of their business, many of which you might be surprised to learn are actually small businesses, or at least started out as small businesses. So construction materials costs are going down, not as much and not as quickly as I think a lot of people in the industry would like to see, but they are starting to go down a bit.
Got it. All right. What are some of your next steps, plans for your businesses?
I'll go. One of the things that I've always wanted to do was find a way to give back to the community a bit more. So I'm going to start doing cookie classes. So like decorating, people do a lot of like paint and sips. So I've thought about cookie decorating and sips or something fun like that. Really just to get the youth excited about cooking and about baking and being in the kitchen and being creative. So yeah, that's kind of one of the next steps, and also expanding my menu and honing in on what it is that I'm really passionate about cooking.
I love it. Lori, Kevin?
Sure, I'll go. So one of the things that we are starting this year is an intern program, and with a focus on typically marginalized communities and students who have a desire either for interior design or architecture or construction. And we will start small, but we will build programs during that growth phase that are scalable so that we can take on more and more interns. And our goal would be to take them from paid internship to paid employee.
Mhm.
That way we can provide a pipeline of employment. And even if they leave us one day to go build their own organization and do exactly what we're doing, we will give them all the tools that they need to be successful no matter where they end up. And so that is one of our big goals for this year, is to set up that internship program and to launch it successfully.
Kevin, your next steps.
So I am redoing my Dream 100 list. It's something when years and years and years ago, when I had my business, started the business, I had a Dream 100 list. It's basically like a vision board of customers I want to do business with. And I kind of gotten away from that over the years. And I want to go back to doing that list because I'm a big, Denny mentioned about her goal setting and stuff. I'm a big believer that when you put things on paper, right,
Mhm.
they're way more likely to happen. And when you have those logos that you're looking at, then you're going to see them everywhere and you're going to do things with them. So I'm going to redo my Dream 100 list.
Beautiful. For Danny Fitzgerald, what kind of information is in that accounting area of the website versus taking a QuickBooks payroll or bookkeeping or accounting class? Can you share a little bit more?
It's the course is obviously going to be much more in depth, and you're going to get a lot more theory and additional information in the longer course. These are more snapshot type pieces of information. So think, think documentary versus TikTok. So it's really, that's what it is.
Got it. Thank you so much. All right. What were the top 3 challenges transitioning from before the pandemic to the current state of the country? It's a big one.
Well, I think that the challenge was when we were so used to working from home that we get complacent. We get used to comfortable being at home, right? And business only happens when you're out in front of people. So I think that the challenge of getting everyone back to being used to in front of people and getting them out of the house and hitting the road and working. So I think that the biggest challenge was that we were fortunate enough to keep all of our employees. So we didn't have the challenge of getting new employees, but I know a lot of my friends that did big cuts with their staff. They're really struggling getting people back on board.
Thank you, Kevin.
And I'll sound a little bit like a broken record. I think materials cost has been one of our biggest obstacles or hurdles. We'll jump that hurdle and we'll make it work. And that's, I think it was Danny Fitzgerald that said or maybe Kevin, you've got to be able to pivot. You've got to be flexible. And so when material costs went through the roof and it just wasn't going to make good money sense anymore, we pivoted. We went a different direction in the short term.
Well, y'all, it is 4:26. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and wanted to thank Lene, Professor Winka, Danny Fitzgerald, Danny Hanna, Kevin, and Lori for just being here and sharing your expertise and advice with us, and for facilitating a beautiful panel with our students. I know I'm taking some feedback with me and making sure to impart the wisdom that you've shared with our students and carrying that with me every day. And so I thank you so much for being willing to share your time and space with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And to our students and our faculty members, thank you so much for being here. Please join us tomorrow for a couple more events for Career Expo Week, but know that we are always here to support you with your career development and growth. So thank you all.
Thank you all.
Great night, everybody. Great working with you all.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.